And this thing happened. We got this report. Well, it turned out that the Israelis were working covertly with the South African government, testing nuclear weapons in South Africa, and this flash off the coast was one of those. There was an earlier one, however, because Israel had no place to test weapons. And their underground test, there's a lot of signatures if you do it the right way. Safety things like right now, the Democratic Republic, North Korea has 2 new tunnels into their testing ground. Their new a lot of renovations on their plutonium development plant are going on. So we'll talk about that later. But you need a lot of safety things. And if you don't have those safety things, the safety things are there, and they act as signatures for the intelligence community, INW, intelligence and indicators and warning. Satellites can say, uh-oh, look at here, this is the signature for getting ready to test the weapon. Well, if it's a covert thing, like the Israelis were doing in South Africa, well, you don't want to tip anybody off. And so if those safety measures aren't there, what happens is a lot of the radiation escapes from an underground test. All right?
Okay.
Well, what Gabrielle Pettingale did, what I had her do, was we wanted to gather some intelligence on that particular test on land. What happened was very interesting. After the small megaton test and all this radiation escaped and was airborne, immediately something, all I can describe it as is a very tall, perhaps 60-meter tall, tent-like, black, flexible, 3-sided thing with spines that had rings on them, took off, disappeared from the surface of what looks like the backside of the moon. We're really not sure where it took off from. Popped on over that site, for all intents and purposes, sucked up, vacuumed up all the airborne radiation, the residual radiation from that covert test, converted it into something like electricity. There were sparks flying all over the place, and it was gone, parked back where it parked. Huh. So the reason I'm saying that is this is one of the reasons I think contact is imperative. We need to ask for help. We need to go to whoever owned that thing, whatever agency owned that thing, I'm going to talk about that later, and say, excuse us, we don't have the wherewithal, nor will we ever, to fix this unbelievable catastrophe. Can you help?
All right, Ed, stay with us. We're going to hit this break. We're going to come back. Much more to talk with Dr. Doom, Ed Dames. His website, by the way, learnrv.com, linked up at coasttocoastam.com, as well as a video I want you to take a look at. We shall be right back. To Coast to Coast, we're with Ed Dames, and lots to talk with Ed about tonight. And Ed, we were talking about contact and this object that seemed to be sucking up all kinds of radiation. Was it being done to show us what they could do?
Oh, no. It was entirely clandestine, George.
You think?
Clandestine. It was there, and it was gone. It was never noticed by any U.S. system. Only remote viewing picked it up.
Okay. And what was the purpose of doing it?
It seems like, for instance, you think about, well, why didn't that agency, whoever operated this thing, do that in other circumstances? Why aren't they doing it now for Fukushima, whatever? I think it's all part of a plan, an agenda. I believe that they wanted I think that this agency out there knows everything that we're doing, and we are playing right into their agenda. They're trying to force the development of consciousness tools, higher level tools. It's consciousness that develops everything that we're doing, all the technology that we have right now. But we fail to forget how powerful it is at the primal level when consciousness itself. We've gone too far out on the technological learning curve, and we're still there. We don't know how to jump off that limb of that tree. I think it's trying to develop these tools. That's the best guess that we had in the unit, that it's showing us these things to allow us to develop this in terms of a carrot and stick approach. So it's saying essentially we're not going to violate the prime directive. This is our guess, or speculative guess. We're not going to violate the prime directive by dropping in and landing on the White House lawn allegorically and giving you everything you want. You got to find us, like a father playing hide and seek with his daughter. Yeah, he's hiding. She's trying to find him, but the game's no good unless she finally finds him, and then they work together from then.
Contact, I don't think, will ever come from governments, though. Do you see that happening?
No, because they're governments. Look at our country, for instance. There is no government in our country. There's no government. So, government is that whatever that ever was is gone. So, no, it will be something else. If you're looking to work with a higher intelligence, they're not going to operate with anything other than a higher intelligence. So you've got to use higher intelligence tools to be able to establish contact, and they know this.
Well, that's probably one of the reasons why we haven't had the kind of contact we all expect. I mean, there's still basically, other than, the abduction cases and things like that, Ed, they're still hiding from us.
No, there is intervention. For instance, because my agency has limited resources, not in terms of money, we can get money, but limited resources in terms of operating ability, trained operators and really skilled professionals. I have to turn my attention. If I use the analogy of trying to break through an enemy line, here you've got a long Maginot Defense, let's say, and you're a small task force or a commando unit or battalion, a tank battalion. You've got to bust through this line. You don't want to spread yourself thin against the entire line, the enemy line. You want to find tactically sane, logical points where the likelihood of breaking through those lines is the highest. Well, in using that allegory, that analog, what I do in terms of let's call it the UFO phenomenon, the UFO problem, the ET phenomenon, which I am so enthralled with and have been attracted to for 35 years. Let's say I want to break through there at some point. What do I do? There's so many incidents. There's so many kinds of things, abductions, and we're going to talk about that in momentarily in another case in a minute. There's so many things. Where do I concentrate my forces to break through, to punch through these lines, to solve this problem? And over the years, I picked two instances to do that. And I'm going to tell you and your listeners why, in no uncertain terms. One is, if you go to the Coast to Coast website, you'll see a link to an incident that happened in Zimbabwe, near the capital, about 20 kilometers from Harare, Zimbabwe, in 1994. And in fact, it was September 16th in 1994. There were 62 students, age 5 through 12, playing. This was a private school, an international school, all mixed races, smart kids, were playing on a morning break, recess break, and they walked off into the savannah. Actually, it was a really thorny area where they weren't supposed to go because of lots of snakes and things like that. They just walked right off. And they came back with an interesting story, which your listeners can research if they choose, about a big saucer-shaped thing. And they all drew sketches of this and talked about two bug-eyed things looking at them. And John Mack just happened to be in South Africa at that time, flew up to Zimbabwe, interviewed the kids. A lot of the kids drew sketches of what they perceived in that particular incident.
And they drew them, I guess, separately, too. They weren't all in a group saying, let me look at yours.
Of course, too.
Yeah.
And I got to see the original 35-millimeter tape that John Mack taped with the parents' permission for some of the kids. I don't think that's out there now because the parents pulled it. But Professor Mack, may rest in peace, was an incredibly gifted interviewer and child psychologist. So knew, like I did when I used to brief Soviet emigres and scientists, you don't say, well, did you see this puff of green smoke? Oh, yeah, you don't say that.
Yes,
what did you see?
Yeah, exactly.
So he didn't lead the kids at all as a professional, and they all described the same thing. But most interestingly, the older kids, 8 to 12, they also described one more thing. Hearing a voice or perceiving an idea in their head from one of the two bug-eyed creatures there outside their flying saucer. You're hurting your planet. You've got to stop.
You're hurting your planet.
You've got to stop. Now, here's an incident
where
some agency went through the trouble of targeting only children, a big group of children, by the way, too. and bounce up and down, do the typical stuff that they do, and I can talk at length about that, why they do these things. But the end game there was to transmit a message to children saying, you've got to take better care of your planet. You're hurting your planet. Now, I thought, okay, I'm going to use these guys because remote viewing is a very powerful tool, consciousness tool. You can't hide from it. In fact, we're going after one of the FBI's most wanted right now. And in February, I'll be out on his trail on the road. So you can't hide from this. And nothing can hide. So I want to see what agency, what orchestrated this particular event that was beneficial. I mean, it's benign or more than benign. It's suggesting that somebody is trying to point out what we are doing wrong. So this is one case that I have not stopped working on, a special study. I can talk more about. But there's another one. And the other one is intervention, absolute intervention. And this concerns the agency that is behind the intervening in our nuclear ballistic missile test over the years, and I've talked about this on your show. What agency is doing that? What agency is interfering and shutting down our ICBMs and control systems and can do that? Is actually physically entering nuclear weapons storage bunkers that are highly secure and changing the targeting codes and all of that over the years? What agency is doing that? It's a different agency. There are two separate agencies here.
Interesting.
One, the first one that dealt with the children, is not human. In fact, we're not even sure they're in this dimension. They can operate extra-dimensionally, but they may be other dimensional entities. The second agency that is interfering with our has been interfering with missile tests, and we talked about this on your show before.
Yeah.
They are humans, and they're operating on this planet from the surface with technologies that, well, I don't know, nominally 100 million years ahead of us, a million. What difference does it make?
Where did they get it?
They got it from a federation.
Okay.
A federation that raised them on another planet.
But these are humans, not human-like. These are actual humans.
They were raised on another world.
And brought back, like hybrids.
No, they're not hybrids. They're humans, just like you and I. A little bit different, a little bit hardier.
Were they taken, or did they volunteer?
No. They were raised there. Looks like they were raised from embryos.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
well,
now they're here serving as a covert mission, like missionaries, and behind enemy lines. They're very scared of being found out. But look at what they're doing. I think both agencies are attempting to tell man, are attempting to send the MO or the agenda, even if they're not working together, appears to be the same. They're covertly and overtly trying to stop humankind from exterminating itself. And so I chose these two events to penetrate as an Enigma penetration, and that's what my focus and my team's focus has been on for a long time and continues to be. But we've ceased. Well, I could say a lot more about it, but go ahead, George.
Well, in doing so, though, by penetrating these two cases, what did you learn? Is there something good going on here?
Well, as I said, as far as I'm concerned, from the beginning, there was something good. That's the very reason I chose to look at these two.
Okay.
Because something's helping us save us from ourselves. Because we don't have the intelligence or we don't have the wherewithal corporately to be able to do that. We're going down. We are going down. So I think the only rescue that we have is to throw our pride away and ask for help. Give the keys to the car back, Dad.
Yeah. Did the kids from Zimbabwe understand what was going on, or were they, it
was all an illusion. When you remote view the event itself, the incident, there was no physical thing there. We in our profession, we don't use words like UFO or craft or object.
No,
there was no physical object there. All the kids were in a catatonic state. There was a couple of glowing white spheres juxtaposed to them, near them, about 25 meters, and it was beaming ideas into their head. They were implanted with ideas, not anything physical. They're all adults now, and they stand by their stories.
Let's talk a little bit about the abduction cases tied into some of this then. So the abductions, do you think they were also used to develop these humans on these other planets or something else?
I don't know. We only have tangential evidence to support what you just said, but we don't have a really good chain of custody there. But, I mean, let's go figure. A working hypothesis is maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows?
That's a good point, too.